Hello everyone, it's Karen at the Cool Tools Studio, and I'm here today to introduce Separation Enamel in this enameled cabochon video. Before we dive right in, let's take a minute to talk about what Separation Enamel actually is. It's kind of a misnomer because it's not technically enamel and it's not powdered glass. Instead, it's a powder that you paint on top of enamel. And what it does is it disrupts the surface tension and the viscosity of the enamel that surrounds it, and it gives you this kind of marbleized look. These were my first experiments with it, and I found that I really liked the way it kind of looked like a natural stone. So I thought I would play on that and give the shapes a dome before I enameled them and make these cabochons. I set one so you can see how much they really look like stones when they're set in jewelry. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to make these cabochons by using Separation Enamel alongside Thompson unleaded enamels on Cyprus Copper Clay. Before we dive in, let's see what else we're going to need. For this project, you're going to want a work surface and rolling frames. Specifically, we're going to be working with 3 cards thickness. You're going to need an ultra clay pick, a clay roller, cool slip, a clay hydrator, and I've got some Cyprus Copper Clay. You're also going to want a variety of templates and some drying frames. I have some surfactant, some clear fire, and a sprayer to apply the clear fire, and I've got some squeegee oil. You're also going to need some Scalex, and then some enamels. And Cool Tools sells these great little containers of enamel, but if you're just getting started, we also sell the Thompson enamel sampler, which will give you little baggies of every color. And it's a great way to get going in enameling. We're also going to be using Separation Enamel and a sifter. I've got some brushes and a Scotch-Brite as well. Let's get started. I'm going to be using Cyprus Copper Clay to make these shapes that we're going to be applying enamel to. And this is a great way to make a lot of them all at once, really quickly and really easily. I'm going to start off with some cool slip on my surface and the roller, just to keep the clay from sticking. And since we're going to be enameling, I'm going to be rolling to 3 cards thick. And Cool Tools offers lots of templates that you could use, but fat triangles is one of my favorites, and I'm going to be working with it today. I'm just going to use my ultra clay pick to pick out these forms. And since the separation enamel is kind of an experimental technique and you don't know what you're going to get, it's always good to make lots so you can have plenty to play around with. And it's a really quick and easy way to do that. Take a smaller one. Ball up my excess, put it back in my hydrator, keep it nice and fresh. So to get these to have the dome shape to them, I'm going to let them dry over drying forms. And Cool Tools sells lots of them, and they're really nice because they're metal, so you can put them right in the dehydrator and speed up the process if you'd like. I'm going to be working with the one that's kind of triangular shaped to match what I cut out. And you can either place them on top this way, or you can use this inside. I'm just going to be adding just a touch of cool slip. That way if you kind of have to scoot it around or adjust it in there, it won't stick. And this is going to give it a nice gentle curve. I'm going to move these off to the dehydrator to dry. Once your piece is dry, check to see if you need to clean anything up and do so with sanding. Then you're ready to fire. Fire it in according to the instructions that came with your clay. While those are firing, I'm going to be working with some other pieces that I made earlier on to use in this video. As a side note, if you don't work with clay, you can also do this project by piercing these shapes out of 18 gauge copper and dapping them. It'll just take quite a bit longer than it would to use a pick to cut them out of clay. So I have these pieces ready for enamel, and I just gave them a quick scrubbing with the Scotch-Brite and the surfactant before giving them a thorough rinse. And I'm going to start off by applying Scale-X to my pieces. And like most enameling techniques, you're going to want to counter enamel on the back side. So I'm going to apply Scale-X to this front face to keep it from oxidizing in the kiln while I'm firing my enamel. So once I have this brushed on, you're going to want to let it dry before you apply your counter enamel. And you can speed that up by placing it on top of the kiln if you'd like. So I'm going to move my piece off to the kiln to dry. My Scale-X is dry, and you can tell it's dry when it's nice and opaque and even. So I'm ready to apply my counter enamel to the back. And I've got some clear fire here that I've mixed 50-50 with water, and I'm going to apply that to help the enamel stick before it fires. A little more for luck. And you can use counter enamel. You can use any enamel that you have handy for the counter enamel on these pieces. And I've got my sifter here to apply a nice even coat of enamel. And since it's a domed form, it might be kind of hard to get up on those edges, so make sure you're rotating your piece. And then you can knock some of that back off the edges with your finger or a brush to clean it up before you fire it. All right, I'm going to let this dry before firing it, and you can fire these enamels from 1450 to 1550. So my counter enamel has been fused on, and I flaked off the Scale-X and re-cleaned this surface with the Scotch-Brite and surfactant, and I'm ready to go for the first layer of enameling. And the separation enamel is best applied over 2 to 3 layers of enamel. So I'm going to start off with a light base coat. Make sure he's clean. And as always, I'm going to start off with some clear fire. It's a generous spray. All right, and I'm going to move this off to fire. This layer has cooled, and I'm ready to apply my second layer. And I'm going to be using black, and I'm going to sift it on just as I did the first. And from some experimentation, I did find that it's best to make sure you don't have too heavy of a hand in these layers, because if they're too thick, the separation enamel won't be able to penetrate through them and do its job and give you that marbleized effect. All right, and I'm going to allow this to dry and then fire it. The manufacturer recommends that you end on a transparent, so once this layer is done, I'm going to sift on an Elan gray and fire that as well. Now that I have my enamel layers fired on, I'm ready to apply my separation enamel. But before we get going on that, let's take a minute to talk about the effects you can get. You can control your pattern by where you paint on the separation enamel. For example, on this piece, I did kind of more triangular wedge shapes and then little dots there, and that's how the enamel separated. And in this piece, and this one as well, I kind of mixed between larger splotches and little accent splotches. And that's what reminded me of a stone, so that's what I'm going to be doing in this piece over here. You don't have to worry about resetting your kiln before you fire the separation enamel. Just like the vitreous enamel, separation enamel can be fired from 1450 to 1550, and you'll be firing the separation enamel anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes, depending on how thick your enamel layers are and how drastic you want the effect to be. So, as I had said before, the separation enamel comes as a powder, and we're going to be mixing it with squeegee oil to make it paintable. And Cool Tools sells the squeegee oil with a nice little dropper. It helps you control how much you add in. And you're looking for a consistency that's not going to run, and it will stay put for you, and will have enough body that there's enough separation enamel for it to do its job. If it's too diluted, it won't be able to penetrate through the layers. So I might just add a touch more enamel, see what sticks to this guy. Looks pretty good, and I'm going to follow the similar thing that I did on these ones, where there's some bigger spots and then some other smaller spots as well to kind of get an organic look. And I'm just going to paint this on, and then I'm going to allow it to dry before I fire it. And when you do fire it, you might see some smoke or a little bit of a flame, and that's just residual squeegee oil burning off. Did I make enough? Cutting it close. Add a couple little dots. Alright, so I'm going to allow this to dry and fire it, and let's see what we get. So here we have my finished enameled cab. There are so many different results you can achieve by changing out just one of the colors, or even the order that you put the colors down in, and it's always a really fun surprise when your pieces come out of the kiln. I really enjoyed making these enameled cabs, and I think they make a beautiful option for a focal point in a piece of jewelry. I hope you've enjoyed this introduction to separation enamel and feel like you can give it a try. It really is a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Visit our Learning Center at cooltools.us for more cool jewelry making videos. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and be sure to sign up for our email list to be the first to hear about new videos, new products, and other cool stuff from Cool Tools.